Sports Professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard, serious show that doesn't take itself too seriously, but this week, how can you not? The Olympic theme, the mixture of sports, politics, infrastructure, development, a little bit of cynicism. Rio opening with an amazing opening ceremonies, 2 weeks of nothing but, and the building in Rio, basically countless problems to the city and county, impeached president, economy that's said to be defunct. But NBC, the network basically that owning the media and television rights to the games, hopes the coverage will be focused on more than just the problems plaguing Rio. And Bob Costas addressed the onslaught of problems in the Brazilian city, saying it's going to be impossible in some cases not to address issues coming up before the Olympics because they'll intersect with the competition. Mark Lazarus and a bunch of executives hoping that the viewership continues to justify the $1.2 billion in ad sales generated for NBC on behalf of corporate America and corporate world. Going forward, the IOC may have learned a lesson. They say they'll likely shy away from again holding the world's biggest sporting event in cities that exhibit any sign of instability, according to the Wall Street Journal. And despite his seemingly stable government and upstart economy when the country was granted the rights to host the Olympics, the switch flipped in between, and now for Rio and Brazil, these games proven to be a learning lesson for the Olympic organizers. It's shaping up as a cautionary tale about how volatile conditions can be in developing countries, with hopeful future bids in countries like India and Africa becoming less likely after Rio proved to be IOC's biggest challenge they ever faced. For now, we have a decidedly Olympic tinge and tech. Scott Blackman, the head of the U.S. Olympic Committee, talks about all of these issues in our interview with him just before he left for the Games. Jonathan Becker, CDO, Chief Digital Officer of SAP, talking about international sponsorships and mega events, Olympics and beyond. And Will Ahmed, the founder of Whoop, a technology company that talks about training, rehabilitation, and otherwise, and not just Olympic athletes. It is a very specific and very good snapshot into the Olympics. Rick Horrow, sports professor, Beyond the Scoreboard. See you in a couple of minutes.
Don't complain about your cable bill going up and up and up. Do something about it. Grab a pencil and jot down this special number.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
The more cable TV rates go up, the better digital satellite TV looks. So cancel the cable and get more of your favorite channels in 100% digital quality for less money.
Call 877-499-MY-TV.
Right now to sign up for packages starting as low as $24.99, and there's no equipment to buy. You get free HD TV upgrade, a free DVR upgrade, and free professional installation. You control what you watch when you watch it. Record your favorite shows. Pause and rewind live TV. Even skip the commercials. Watch local channels too. At just $24.99, what are you waiting for? Pull out your major credit or debit card.
Call 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Cancel the cable, cut costs, and get more.
Call now, 877-499-MY-TV. That's 877-499-MY-TV.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sometimes what you want most from your car is nothing. No headaches, no surprises, no anxiety when it's late at night and you're on some distant freeway in a thunderstorm. Owning a certified pre-owned Mercedes-Benz can be that anxiety-free experience on every level. You know you're in one of the safest and most thoughtfully engineered vehicles on the road. And with an unlimited mileage warranty, you can drive as far as you want for up to 3 years, with roadside assistance included. Your sense of confidence and adventure are as unlimited as the warranty itself. Now you can drive the car of your dreams and realize that nothing is everything. And during the certified pre-owned sales event, now through August 31st, you can receive 2 years of complimentary prepaid maintenance and 0.99% APR financing on select models, available through Mercedes-Benz Financial Services. You've waited long enough.
See your authorized Mercedes-Benz dealer for complete details and limitations on certified pre-owned warranties. APR offer available only to qualified customers. Call 1-800-FOR-Mercedes for details about costs and terms.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, Beyond the Scoreboard. Olympic theme today, high-tech, corporate America, corporate world, and the Olympics. Beginning with probably the person that has the toughest job in America, Scott Blackman, lawyer, AEG, developer, and now the head of the United States Olympic Committee, who stands side by competitive side with countries on a daily basis that'll throw significant public money into their Olympic bids and Olympic funding. Scott's got to juggle that with the inevitable imbalance between the big sports and the small sports and other issues as you prepare for Rio and 2 years from now the Winter Games on 4-year cycles, which he will talk about and did in an interview we had just a week ago before he headed to Rio. Scott Blackman. Exciting Olympic time for everybody, especially the business of it. Lucky and happy to be joined by friend and the president of the United States Olympic Committee via Skype from Colorado Springs, Scott Blackman. Scott, how are you?
Hey, Rick, I'm well. How about you?
Awesome, as usual. When I interviewed IOC Chairman Thomas Bach almost exactly a year ago, you remember, in Toronto, he believed that Rio was, in his words, ready for the games, and the diversity of enrichment would show the Brazilian culture to the world. And just like Sochi, there are always concerns about readiness of this worldwide event. How do you personally feel about Brazil's readiness to host the games?
You know, we've got a pretty good crew down there already. They feel great about our level of preparedness. Our rooms are ready. Rick, you remember Athens? There was a lot of concern heading into Athens about whether the venues were going to be ready. The thing is, once the competition starts, once August 5th comes, finally, I think everybody's going to begin to focus on our athletes on the field of play, and much less so on all the things that are going on the side, whether it's the politics, the Zika, the water quality, the doping. You know, all of that stuff is kind of first and foremost in people's minds today, but I think that's all going to go away on August 5th.
And clearly for you, too, as the United States head businessman for the entire U.S. Olympic effort, you included a USA Team registry, a crowdfunding website where fans could make individual gifts to support U.S. athletes. From a financial support perspective, are our athletes ready for the games?
They are absolutely ready. You know, we wish we could support more of them, Rick. We probably support, about 1,500 athletes, which means there are some athletes who are competing for a spot on the Olympic team who we can't support. And our goal ultimately is to be able to give everybody the kind of support that they need to be on the podium. We're competing against nations that invest in sport, invest in the Olympics on a pretty massive scale, China, Russia, some others. We are totally privately funded. We're fortunate to have the support of many, many Americans, both sponsor companies and our donors. And so we feel great about the support that we can provide to our athletes, but it'd sure be nice if we could support more of them.
Well, and you do move entrepreneurial mountains, and I know your frustration. How do you basically feel waking up every day and competing against those publicly funded state programs that dominate the global landscape that you were just mentioning?
We have the greatest group of athletes on the planet. So we've won the medal count in every summer games since Atlanta. We've won the medal count in the Winter Games. So we're very, very fortunate that we've got, good systems, good community systems here. Our collegiate system, the support that we get from NCAA institutions is unbelievable. It is a little daunting to compete against the kinds of investments that other nations are making. But it's hard to complain about our structure because our athletes are doing great and they're winning the medal count.
Well, let's go across those 40-some-odd national governing bodies. So how do you balance the sports that really, 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 really depend on you and those NGBs, fencing, judos, many of the lesser-known sports, against the professionally dominated programs, tennis, golf, soccer, basketball, and the like? So
we have limited resources, as I said earlier. We can't support everybody. what we try to do is make sure that the dollars that we do invest really have an impact on our ability to win medals at the Olympic and the Paralympic Games. So when we look at a sport like basketball, there's not a lot that we can do to make our men's basketball team better. It's a fantastic team. They're well coached. They're well trained. There are other sports where we've got an opportunity to win a medal. So you look at a sport like swimming or rowing or gymnastics, where they don't have that same level of infrastructure and training that a men's basketball might. So the way we look at it is where can our dollars have the greatest impact? As you probably know, we don't invest in sports where we really don't have a reasonable opportunity to medal. So that's always the analysis that Alan Ashley, who leads our sport group, undertakes to determine how we allocate our resources.
It's an ongoing and interesting mixture of financial and political acumen. You know, a year ago in that interview we talked about with Thomas Bach, he praised his corruption reform issues and that, in his words, all instruments are in place to prevent corruption. He was referring to the bid process and also protecting clean athletes. Talk about the recent Russian ruling and also the Olympic movement itself. Is it dealing adequately with leveling the playing field between countries with various anti-doping policies?
You know, you mentioned corruption and bidding and doping, and I'll say on the bidding front, the rules that they put in place are really working. This is a much more efficient process. I think cities are spending less money than they ever have before. You know, we have an incredibly strong bid that's in play from Los Angeles. So, you know, I would give the IOC extremely high marks on kind of managing the bid function. You know, on the doping side, they found themselves in a no-win position. You know, 2 weeks out from the games, they didn't really have an option that would have kept everybody happy. I understand where they are coming from when they express concern about individual justice. And if you ban the whole Russian team, there are going to be some athletes, some clean athletes who, you know, I think are unfairly treated as a part of that. On the other hand, we have all the clean athletes around the world who are going to have to line up against, you know, the Russian team, and I think we also have to think about individual justice from their perspective. So we've kind of gotten ourselves into a mess here. I think the important thing is that we need to fix this system going forward. We need a truly independent system. We can't have all the overlap that we currently have between WADA on the one hand and the IOC and the international federations on the other hand. And I think the IOC is genuinely committed to changing the system, to try to make it better and to try to make it more unlikely that this could happen again, because this is unfair. It's an embarrassment, and it's frankly something that's threatening to the very essence of the Olympic movement. So we really have to focus our attention on it immediately after Rio.
Well, and you're right in the sense that Thomas Bach, remember, preached empowerment and transparency, and under these circumstances, he's doing the best he can on that and hopefully able to move forward immediately after the games, as you said. Baseball and football not presently at the Olympics. The Olympics, as the NBA has proved, is a great platform for global expansion. We all know that. Can you look down the road and see baseball or football as part of future Olympic Games?
You know, I think one of the great things about the changes that were made to the program of the Olympic Games, meaning the sports that get to be competed there, is that the organizing committees going forward are going to have more influence over that. So, you know, as you look at, you know, what Tokyo might do or what the winner of the 2024 race might do, I think there is an opportunity for sports as long as they are universal, meaning, you know, practiced in many, many nations. I think the challenge that American football would have is that it's just not being played in enough nations. It's not going to get as much traction as something like baseball would get. So I'd say, you know, baseball, high likelihood, women's softball, probably even higher likelihood, football, probably not so much at this point in time.
Perfect segue into the winner of the 2024 race. Thank you for doing that. Last year, Thomas Bach commented on the improved attitude and relationship between his organization and yours, meaning you. 2024 Boston fallout is a distant dream, but L.A. seems poised to grab these games when the selection is made next year. How do you feel about their process and the prospects for success?
They're going to have venues that are either temporary or that are already in place. And so from an expense perspective, it's going to be one of the most, you know, economically efficient games ever. The other thing that is very, very strong about their bid is that, you know, one of the things that's important to the IOC is connecting the Olympic movement and the Olympic Games to youth. And if you look at the assets that we have in California, whether it's Silicon Valley or some of the companies, the tech companies down in Los Angeles. I think, America's bid is uniquely positioned to help the IOC make that connection to youth, to make the Olympic Games relevant.
Scott Blackman has his challenges, but he also has significant supporters as he moves forward. And by the way, shameless promotion, he's writing a chapter in our book, 50-Year Legacy book on the sports business. You'll hear more about that in the future. Rick Horrow, sports professor, will be back in a couple of minutes.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for prescription drugs? Well, we have great news. Now you can finally get prescription drugs at huge discounts from Canada Drug Center. That's right, the most popular drugs for cholesterol, high blood pressure, depression, diabetes, arthritis, and many more are now up to 75% off. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices when you can get brand name drugs at the lowest price? Call today and get up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs. Never pay high prices again. Get the most popular drugs at huge savings from our Canadian and international pharmacies and fulfillment centers. No insurance? No problem. Prices are so low you do not need benefits or insurance to get all your prescriptions fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting to take your call now. Order today and get free shipping. Just call 800-950-1180. Up to 75% off all the popular brand name prescription drugs and free shipping. Call 800-950-1180. That's 800-950-1180.
How important is it for you to take your medications at the right time of day? Very important, according to today's AARP health tip. More after this.
At Walgreens, getting diabetes testing supplies with Medicare Part B is a walk in the park. Really, because getting what you need is quick and easy, giving you more time for other things. There's $0 out of pocket on all major brands like Freestyle and Walgreens True Metrics, and no extra paperwork. So managing diabetes becomes a stroll down Easy Street, or a trip to the movies, or even a day at the beach. Talk to your pharmacist today. Walgreens, at the corner of happy and healthy.
Zero out-of-pocket cost when billed to Medicare and full coverage supplemental insurance.
Some drugs are best used in the morning. Others should be taken in the evening or right before going to bed. There's a science to timing drugs to achieve the greatest benefit with the lowest risk of unpleasant side effects. It's called drug chronotherapy. So never change the timing of your drugs without first discussing it with your doctor or pharmacist. For more, go to aarp.org.
Tired of calls, levies, and liens from the IRS, or hiring others who don't get the job done? Call Wall & Associates and you'll never talk to the IRS again. The IRS has a program to eliminate tax debt, and Wall & Associates professionals are trained to maximize its benefits for you. You always speak with a live person with real support and real knowledge. We've helped thousands of taxpayers like you settle their tax debt with the IRS for a fraction of what they owe. We solve tax problems. Call Wall & Associates now, 800-480-5708. We have the professionals who know how to solve tax problems. If you owe money to the IRS, your tax problems are not going away by themselves, and the passage of time will only make matters worse. Act now, before it's too late. Call Wall & Associates right now to speak to a professional tax relief agent. Call 800-480-5708. That's 800-480-5708. Again, 800-480-5708.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, big companies and small. Whoop, a company founded in 2012 by Will Ahmed, a Harvard College scholar and captain of the Harvard men's varsity squash team. But he knows a lot more than squash. He knows about rehabilitation, redesign, training, and other perspectives, balancing training, reducing injury, strain, and recovery, with a whole bunch of Olympic athletes going to Rio. Kelly Hurley, Ryan Lochte, Matt Emmons, Kyle Lowry, Jevy Stone, Perry Baker, a whole bunch of people who swear by the company, as well as the normal consumer and weekend warrior. Interesting perspective. Here's what Will has to say.
The trillion-dollar business of sports, and we always talk about leagues and teams and executives and events. Now we have something that's a little bit different. We have technology, but it's also wearable, and it is a system, as their PR info says, robust enough to prepare a Navy SEAL for battle, but with the form factor and design that an average athlete would be comfortable wearing 24 hours a day, well, we got the guy who will explain exactly the details from a business perspective. The company is called Whoop, and the co-founder and CEO is Will Ahmed. Will, how are you?
Hi, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. So it's an easy question. How does a Harvard College scholar and captain of the Harvard's men's varsity squash team join a couple of Harvard guys and prepare this? Give us an elevator speech of how you created this idea.
Yeah, I mean, I was fascinated by the space, and then I was also personally, someone who would overtrain or undertrain or misinterpret fitness peaks as an athlete. And I felt like there were a number of athletes who, also were going through similar challenges of properly measuring recovery or sleep or strain in general. So I did a lot of physiology research while I was at Harvard. I met with a number of cardiologists and physiologists. I read something like 300 medical papers, and I wrote a paper on how I thought you could continuously understand the body. And in the process, I met John Capiloupo, one of my co-founders, our CTO. John was studying the hardest math class at Harvard, and his father is actually an exercise physiologist. And then we also met Aurelian Nicolai, who was one of the best mechanical engineers at Harvard and could rapidly prototype. And the fourth person that we recruited is Martin Oberhauser, who is widely considered one of the best information graphic designers in the world. And the four of us, set out to create sort of a minimum viable vision around how we could create hardware and software and analytics to really unlock performance. And that was in 2012, and we've been at it for 4 years now. Today we've got 50 employees in our Boston office, and we're fortunate to work with professional athletes, collegiate athletes, Olympians, and the military.
It's a great story, and also it's a great template. I've heard a lot of monikers in the context of this business show that we do with Reuters, but an MVV, minimum viable vision, that's a first. Was that created as a kind of parameter for all future economic modeling that you were doing? Did it just come to you at one night? How'd you create the template?
Well, the overall framework for monitoring the body was really framed around some of the problems that we saw athletes were encountering. So in particular, if you think about overtraining, it's really just a mismatch between strain and recovery. So if you have a low recovery and you're taking on a lot of strain and you're doing that every day, you're overtraining your body. And what you want is your recovery and your strain to be at an equal level. That's optimal training. And so, from the beginning, we had this vision around, monitoring the body through the lens of strain and recovery. And, those are two of our key pillars on our platform, and I think a big differentiator for us in the space. Whoop is the first product to continuously monitor the body around strain and recovery. We really view the aspirational athlete as, an audience that hasn't been properly served to date and deserves to better understand their body. So if you think about the high school athlete who's, dealing with the stresses of school life, maybe wants to get recruited, maybe wants to be a professional athlete. If you think about the fitness enthusiast who exercises 3 to 5 times a week, likes to go to classes, exercise is part of who they are. And you also think about the endurance competitor, people who run and cycle and swim, maybe compete in, marathons or triathlons. That's really an audience that I think is competitive at its core, wants to perform at a high level, whether it be, with exercise or sports or actually just in their daily life. And for the Whoop system, we're able to offer the same analytics that we provide for the best athletes in the world to this aspirational audience. And I believe it's going to be a very compelling offering.
The differentiation of Whoops is it provides data analytics that nobody else can have, but you have to work with a personal trainer or those close to you to interpret the data. Is that correct? And to act on it?
No, so, Whoop provides many layers of data, and at its simplest level, we're measuring strain, so that's the intensity of a workout or the intensity of your overall day. We're measuring recovery, which tells you how much strain to put on your body. And we're measuring sleep. And in particular, if you think about sleep, Whoop is the first platform to actually tell you how much sleep you need before you go to bed. So we actually tell athletes, before you go to bed, this is how much sleep you need for peak performance for tomorrow. And then an athlete goes to bed and they wake up in the hours of sleep that they got. The relationship to the sleep that they needed is this concept of sleep performance. And the whole system, I would say, sorry, go ahead.
No, you finish up, sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say, the whole system is really designed to live a step ahead of the athlete. So, you wake up in the morning, you've got a recovery. That recovery is telling you how much strain to take onto your body over the course of the day. Then over the course of the day, you accumulate strain, whether in the form of workouts or various stresses, daily activity. And at the end of the day, we look at the strain you've accumulated, and we tell you how much sleep you need to properly recover. So it's really trying to live a step ahead of the individual, and because these analytics are so personalized, it has a wider application.
The process that you've gone through and the release that you've sent out it's not in the too good to be true category, but it certainly got my attention. The study that you referred to of the NCAA athletes, 41 additional minutes of sleep each night, injury reduction by 60%. Resting heart rate lowered by 4.4 BPM. These are not insignificant, plus the caffeine use reduction by 86%. Basically, how did they do it? How did you do it? And how were you able to report such fantastic successes?
Yeah, thank you for bringing that up, Rick. It's been a little bit amazing to see how profoundly college athletes have changed behavior since they've been on the platform. I think it's no small task to get athletes to sleep more and drink less alcohol. At its core, right, Whoop is providing data that athletes haven't had before. And I think, it's easy to feel invincible when you're training a lot, or it's even easy to feel invincible just if you're that type of personality where you believe you can push your body.
Well, Will, let's shift over to the business perspective on this, because it's a business show and a business audience. So capitalization, employees, where you're going with this, what your model to profitability is, and your path to success.
Yeah, absolutely. So we've been working with professional athletes, collegiate athletes, and ultimately elite teams, and we have a business model to serve teams. So we provide the hardware for continuously monitoring the athletes. We also then create a team dashboard that allows coaches and trainers to view different athletes' data. It has a lot of customization associated with that. We have data export functionality that allows teams to export their data and overlay it with other things that they may be collecting. And then we also give teams access to our data scientists at Whoop who work closely with these teams to really optimize performance. So that's the team business model. And it's various subscription levels, anywhere from $100 to $200 per athlete per month. And then on the the product that we're offering today, so a new product offering, Whoop Strap 2.0. That's for the hardware. It's going to provide the aspirational athlete, the individual, with the hardware to really understand the body. And it's going to have the same baseline of analytics that we use for analyzing, the best athletes in the world. So strain, recovery, sleep, information that can be shared with other users.
After the Ryan Lochte's of the world and others perform well in the Olympics, and there's even more visibility around this product than there was before, do you see teams and pro sports leagues and colleges making this available for their athletes to maximize performance?
Absolutely. I think it's the data speaks for itself in a lot of ways, and it's also a question of how important is success to these teams. And for almost all college athletes and especially professional athletes, there's actually dollar signs associated with winning or losing. So in that case, it's very important to make sure you're optimizing your athlete's ability to win. And then furthermore, I think it's the right thing to do from a health standpoint, because now for once you're able to actually understand the stresses on these athletes and train them appropriately.
Well, I will tell you, after listening to the story, it's an incredible company, and I wish you all the success in the world. And also, after 3 years at Harvard Law School trying to fake playing good squash at Dunster House, the fact that you were the captain of the Harvard's men's varsity squash team may be even more of a significant accomplishment than anything else. Good luck, and speak with you soon.
Thanks so much, Rick. Really enjoyed it.
Sports professor Rick Horrow. Big companies like SAP, small companies like Whoop, cover the gamut. Back with Bust, Boom, and Hope in just a couple of minutes.
And now, today's General Steel building tip. Buy a large lot with a friend or family member that can be split into two smaller lots. Some of the most appealing properties may be much larger than what you want or can afford. Yet the seller may not be willing to break up a large parcel. So if you can share the costs with someone else, preferably someone you don't mind having as a neighbor, you may be able to pick up a great building site for a reasonable price. And now, a word from General Steel.
This is an alert. If your business or church is building this year, you're about to pay more than you should. This could mean thousands of dollars more for your office, retail space, church, or warehouse. A General Steel building can save you as much as half the cost and time of similar conventional construction. And we're offering rebates of up to $20,000 to help you build today. Call General Steel for free information that could save you thousands. Call 866-95-STEEL. 866-95-STEEL. That's 866-95-STEEL.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rebuild or replace transmission, $3,200. Anti-lock brake system, $1,000. Rebuild or replace engine, $2,400. Truth is, once your manufacturer's warranty runs out, it's all on you. Every last cent. Get protection for covered repairs with a vehicle service contract from Toco Warranty. Unlike other companies, with Toco, there's no down payment, and the monthly payments are really affordable. Not sure how long you're keeping your car? At Toco, you can pay as you go. Keep your hard-earned cash and call Toco Warranty right now at 800-222-2313 to save big money on covered auto repairs. Prices vary by vehicle, but for about the cost of a tank of gas per month, a Toco plan has your back on expensive covered car repairs. Monthly payments are very affordable. Get your free quote now. Call Toco at 800-222-2313. That's 800-222-2313. 800-222-2313. Cancellation fee may apply. Subject to eligibility. Not available in Missouri and Washington. Waiting period and deductible apply. Coverage provided and administered by Warrantech Corporation or its affiliates. Not affiliated with any manufacturer or dealership. Visit TocoWarranty.com for complete terms and conditions.
Sports professor Rick Horrow, back with Beyond the Scoreboard, talking about a significant company with international roots, a German-founded company, but now more sports than you can obviously think about. Formula One, racing, cricket, basketball, football, baseball. Becker, the head of digital, CDO, the chief digital officer of SAP, talking about that company, plus the Sharks and SAP Center. A lot to talk about. Sports Business Insider Rick Horrow, a special digital exclusive extra piece of Beyond the Scoreboard. And we talk about Sharks and SAP and the successful, amazing run after 25-year history beyond anybody's expectations, and a guy that had a architectural piece of that, by the way, an SAP partner, but CDO, Chief Digital Officer, Jonathan Becker. Jonathan, A, thank you for being here. B, what the heck is a CDO?
Fair enough. Well, so I guess CDO could stand for lots of things.
Chief
Digital Officer.
Okay.
So the idea is, how do we take up advantage of all the digital media, all the digital properties, the fact that we're all walking around with cell phones in our pocket. That's how we interact in our business lives. That's how we interact in our personal lives. We're used for instant gratification. What does that mean for how work and life is going to be in the future? That's a big scope. But that's
it's a big scope, and you have a big responsibility. But from a digital perspective, you'll elaborate on these numbers. But I know it's 32 countries a year ago, and now you and your digital operation reach over 190.
That's right.
And the number that I heard, and I'll steal your thunder because I found it amazing. 76.
We don't talk about thunders. We're here in the Bay Area.
Well, after Durant, it doesn't really matter anymore. Okay, it really doesn't. 76% of the world's transaction revenue is touched by an SAP system, which is an incredible number. So talk about your business.
Yeah, so SAP might be the largest company that people in the Bay Area don't really know that well. We have more than 300,000 customers around the world. You heard us, we're in more than 200 countries now, so that number grows every day. But here's some fun facts that the viewers might like, which is, if you like chocolate, 79% of the world's chocolate is manufactured by SAP customers. If you like beer, some of the viewers might like beer, 77% of the world's beer is manufactured by SAP customers. But it's not about drinking and eating stuff that's good for you or have some fun. Turns out that we counterbalance that a bit. So 83% of the world's running shoes as well. In fact, the fact that kind of blows me away, even though I've been in this company for a while, is 73% of the world's transactions touch an SAP system. So we're inside almost every company you know.
So when you say inside, which is an incredible setup for kind of an ability to explain what that means, inside means data gathering, data analysis, data transmission, taking an evolution into a new age, a whole combination of things. Explain all of that.
Yeah, so the heart of what we do is we help companies do what they do better. In fact, for a long time, our tagline was run better. So if you're good at operational stuff, we help you get better at that. If you want to understand your customers better, or you're a sports team and you want to understand your fans better, we help you do that. If you need to move goods from point A to point B and you want to know how to do that most efficiently, we help you do that. So whatever your goal is as a company, there's technology to help you improve that. It's not just data, but it's operational systems as well.
You gave us an example in some of the material you presented us, hot dog buns from one concourse to another, and how that all works. Now, what does that mean as far as product efficiency? How does it help the consumer? How does it help the business?
So let's start with the sports analogy, and then I'll show you how it works in the business as well. Say we're in a late inning of a baseball game or in a hockey game, and you go to a concourse and you want to get a hot dog, and they run out of buns. That's not very good for a fan experience. But more often the case, there are still buns in the building. They're just someplace else. So you'd want a system that could predict, based on all the data points, based on the past games in the building, that says you need more buns here, you need less there. The fans coming in for Philly eat more hot dogs. I'm making that one up because I don't know if that's really true or not. And based on that, you could decide how much of the goods go where. And the fans happier because they get his or her hot dog. Same thing works in a business. If you're building a piece of an equipment, you might outsource some of the manufacturing. And there might be some of that offshore, some of that onshore. What happens if there's a tornado and you can't get that? How do you get a backup plan? What happens if you're trying to ship from point A to point B and there's some kind of outage? We help make sure that the goods you want arrive when they need to get there. That kind of optimization is what SAP does.
Jonathan Becker, Chief Digital Officer, and CBA, the Chief Bun Allocator. It's amazing, the diversity. Boy.
Rick, now the guys back at the office are going to start calling me that. I don't know.
CBA. I understand. You get what you pay for, though, is the bottom line. And so consumer-oriented as well. Obviously, it's very important to business. But what it sounds like is it enhances the consumer experience, enhances the fan experience. Talk about the similarities between business and sports.
Yeah. So let's think about it. If you're a sports team, you try to get the best athletes on your team there. If you're a business, you try to find the best employees. Now, the definition of business is not always the smartest or the one that can jump the fastest. It's one that fits in your business. It's very parallel. So we help you figure out who's the best employee for your team. Same thing. Managers, what do coaches do? They try to figure out how to get the best out of their employees that they have. Managers need to do that as well. Let's keep going. If you are competing against your competition, what's the edge? How can you learn more about another team Same thing in a business. How can you learn more about we look at social media. We look at past historic patterns. We give businesses insight to so lots of different parallels. You know what the one big difference, though, historically has been? On the playing field, you get instant feedback about your decision. If you decide to put in a left-handed pitcher, you know whether that was a good decision quickly. If you decide to substitute a player on the ice in hockey, you know. In business, sometimes you don't know right away. So what we're doing here, and here's what really makes us different from any other software company on the planet, is we're trying to make the same kind of instant feedback that you get in sports happen in business. We're trying to help business go from periodic daily updates, weekly updates, to live business. We want to give you live pulse of what's going on.
And the thing that strikes me as interesting is the diversity of your offerings, because the material talks about 55% of the orders from large customers, 45% from relatively small entities, and the 190 countries that you are now a juggernaut representing: Peru, Samoa, Oman, Liechtenstein. Now, those are in very different places in the world. You offer diverse solutions across culture and across scale, which is unique.
Yeah. So, in fact, most people who do know SAP think about us for the large companies, because we're top 25 brand in the world, and virtually every one of the top 10,000 companies on the planet use us. But it turns out what most people don't know is if you're a startup, if you're a 10-person company in a garage, there are plenty of those here in the Bay Area, you can use our technology as well. And because we're all over the world, we build the solutions so they're local. There are special tax regulations in Brazil. We know how to do those. There are import-export controls in Oman that are different there. So we build locally, and everywhere we go, we're SAP in that country.
You started with humble roots like everybody else did. How did you get so big and good and unique?
I'm not that tall.
No, I'm not even talking about you. God bless. But the company generally.
So our four founders, when they got started, they made one decision, which has been the best decision, and we've stuck with it for the last 44 years. We're essentially 44 years old. And nothing matters except for what the customer needs. Don't get stuck in meetings. Don't get stuck in figuring out how your technology works. Don't get stuck in inside-out thinking, as we sometimes call it. In the end, if you build a better product the customer wants. So, you know, the old joke of you have two ears and one mouth, make sure you use them in that relative proportion. Right. We think a lot about that. What is it? And we use the customer signals in our own business to decide what to do. And if you just focus on the customer, nothing else matters.
Interesting perspective, too. Do you worry sometime about being all things to all people? Again, you're so diverse, and you serve so many masters, and you do so many things well on such a large scale. How do you focus?
So, two answers to that. One is we have sort of a divisionish point of view, which is those that focus on HR problems, that's our Success Factors division, do that better than anybody else on the planet. Those that focus on procurement, buying goods, our Ariba division, do that. But what makes us unique, so that we're not just a loosely federated, is we do integration. When I talk to our largest customers, they say the reason they come to us is we're the single hand to shake. I guess the negative way to say that would be the single throat to choke if something goes wrong, but hopefully most of the time as well.
Do you do more shaking or choking?
You know what? Like every sports team, like every business, we make our mistakes occasionally. And so I think sometimes the customers talk to us loudly and say, we don't like when you do that, but we try to listen. So the good news is we do more shaking than but, you know, we make mistakes too.
And you sound like, as you said, you're well qualified at listening, which sounds like the most important thing. Let's segue to sports for a few minutes.
Indeed. We love
Golf,
sports.
Formula One, sailing, cricket, American football, it says, obviously written by an international audience.
Probably.
Baseball, tennis, basketball, regular football, let's call it soccer. Are you kidding? Look at all the diversity that you have. Talk about all of those entities and what the common themes are there.
Yeah, well, so you talked about the diversity we have in the business world. We have the same kind of diversity in the sports world as well. And what unites them is a passion for their fans. In the same way what unites a successful business is passion for its customers. And the underlying common theme for that is data. So I'm a stats guy by background. I love stats. I'm a sports guy. I think I joked with you off camera that if a Tiddlywink game broke out, I could probably have some fun watching that Tiddlywink game as well.
You were the kid in high school that nobody would go out with, so you were sitting at home on Saturday night scoring Tiddlywinks.
Thank you for saying that on camera. That's
Sorry.
That's really good.
Sorry about that.
No, it's quite all right, Rick.
Okay.
And if you think about fans like beyond the scoreboard.
Yeah.
Fans want to know not just what they see, but they want the stories behind the game. And we can bring those stories alive by talking about what happens there. So I'll give you a couple of examples. We'll get to the Sharks probably.
Yeah,
but the Sharks is a local team.
Right.
But the Sharks have had some wonderful moments in their history. In fact, one of the wonderful moments was the Game 7 winning goal of Jamie Baker beating Detroit. There was another wonderful Game 6 winning goal by Thornton. Remember the slide on the ice, Game 6 against L.A.? Those are great. The fans voted. What do you think a couple months ago the fans have collectively said, what's the top most favorite moment in all of Sharks history?
I don't know. You tell them because you told me.
Yeah, fair enough. It wasn't either of those two things. It turns out it was Thomas Hertl's 4 goals in 1 game. I think it was his 3rd game as a pro. This amazing between-the-legs goal. It shows us that a lot of the new Sharks fans are millennials, and they may or may not have the history of that. And those kind of things means that you can then change the way the Sharks reach out to the community. You can change what you actually do because there's a very strong hardcore audience for the Sharks, which are teenagers and 20-somethings.
So being able to listen, fan experience, tailoring specific solutions, and having a monopoly on how to analyze data, obviously, are the keys to your success. Tennis example, you talk about analytics for coaching. My game needs a lot of help, as everybody else's does. But talk about that as one of your keys.
So one of the nice things about the WTA, the women's tennis, is that they're one of the few leagues to allow technology during the match itself. So literally the coach who's on the sidelines, who's watching the game and getting real-time streaming analytics to her or his iPad, is allowed to go between points and tell the tennis player, by the way, you're leaning a little bit to the left. By the way, you're putting a pressure, or your opponent is hugging the line, or your opponent is rushing the net, and you can adjust your next serve, you can adjust your next volley in the game itself based on what you learn. You can do this in other sports, but other sports haven't yet allowed the technology on the sideline and during the game. And what's nice about that is that same data is later available to the fans as well, so they can learn more about not just first serve percentage, which we all know is a big key to winning, but maybe volley percentage, maybe the percentage of the time that it's in the front court, et cetera. Those statistics, the advanced, tell the story of why people win. We want more people to know about us, but we want authentic stories of how the Sharks got better, how the 49ers got better, how Madison Square Garden got better, how the WTA got better. The sports teams can tell stories because they get that instant feedback about how they get better. So if you don't mind, I'll tell you a quick story that has to do with business.
Go ahead.
A few years ago, I was working on getting small businesses, restaurants, dry cleaners, mom and pop shops, to stop making decisions based on their gut, but making their decisions based on data. That would have breakthrough. That would get people to realize, oh, maybe the data is smarter than my intuition. And that has been a fundamental impact on that small, medium business size.
And a mixture of both, because obviously you need to sell in something that's not going to threaten people, and that's exactly part of the whole deal. So finally, where's the business of data analytics and distribution and the business of SAP? Where is it in 10 years?
So there's a saying that people are starting to come up with is, it used to be that every company would have to be a technology company. It doesn't matter if you're a retailer, it doesn't matter if you're a bank, it doesn't matter if you're the government, but you have to use technology to get better. I think in 10 years, we'll all realize that every company is a data company. The single most important thing that they do is data about their customers, data about their operations. If they don't use that to improve themselves,
Becker talks about digital, worldwide, fan solutions, enhancing the fan experience, generating significant dollars for teams and leagues all across the globe. Again, a tremendous perspective, not only on his business, but the business of sports as well.
We all know healthcare has changed drastically. It's quite the puzzle to sort through your options and find a health insurance plan that's affordable and maximizes your benefits. And you're now required by law to have health insurance, or you may pay a tax penalty. So let the Health Markets Insurance Agency help you. They offer plans from over 120 different companies and can even help you obtain government subsidies. Let them do all the research for you and show you how affordable health insurance can be, a service that's at no extra cost to you. Call now and learn your options to find affordable health insurance. 800-614-1242. 800-614-1242, 800-614-1242, 800-614-1242. Health Markets Insurance Agency is a DBA or assumed name of Inspire Insurance Solutions, Inc., which is a licensed insurance agency in all 50 states and D.C. Not all agents are licensed to sell all products. Service availability varies by state.
Attention, if you've had hip replacement surgery and suffered any complications, you need to listen to this important legal alert. Major manufacturers have made billions of dollars available to award legal claims for defective hip implants. Thousands of these defective hip implants have been recalled by various manufacturers. If you've had hip surgery and suffered complications, you may be entitled to receive significant compensation to help you deal with your complications. You may be eligible to receive money to help with medical expenses, lost wages, stitches and pain and suffering. Protect yourself by hiring an experienced trial attorney. Our partner law firms are experts in hip replacement surgery lawsuits. Find out now if you're eligible to receive any of the $2.5 billion HIP settlement fund. Call now for free information. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. 800-296-1360. That's 800-296-1360.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 877-663-7126 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 877-663-7126 to take your call now. Call 877-663-7126. That's 877-663-7126. Again, 877-663-7126.
Rick Horrow, sports professor. Beyond the scoreboard, Olympics, big company SAP, small company Whoop, they have one thing in common. They want to make a lot of money, and they're not very excited if they don't, bringing us to bust, boom, and hope, the bad, the good, and the hopeful in our economy. First, bust. ACC Commissioner Mike Oresco mentioned the conference expects to lose some schools to conference expansion and realignment. The Big 12 made it clear the other month it plans on increasing its list of members in the hopes of ultimately adding another conference network. Multiple AAC schools appear to be on the Big 12 short list of potential suitors. Cincinnati, Houston, Memphis, UConn believed to be the top choices. Oresco reaffirmed his conference standing on the national level despite talks of some of his schools jumping ship. We'll just have to see. Boom. MLS. Preparing to up its expansion fee to a remarkable $200 million price tag, increase from the current $110 million that LAFC recently paid to join the league. That's according to Bloomberg News. Franchises in Atlanta, LA, Minnesota set to join the league. David Beckham's ongoing saga to build a stadium in Florida and Miami to bring a team is seemingly never ending, as he hopes the Southern Florida franchise will round out the league's 24 teams. However, the league wants to add 4 more teams for a total of 28 in the long term. It remains to be seen if the proposed increase will affect the crop of ownership groups that have been vying to be the next in line. But Don Garber, just like everybody else, asking for as much as you possibly can get. And finally, hope. University of Michigan finally unveiled their new Jumpman football uniforms ahead of the season. They look similar to the old Adidas ones. University held an extensive introduction ceremony for the Jordan brand uniforms. The school now becomes the only one in the country to wear Jordan football uniforms. Popular alumni came back for the ceremony. Michigan alum Charles Woodson, for example. "We got our swag back," he said. "It's all about us making us look good and feel good. That's what having Jumpman on our jerseys means to us." The team did not introduce any alternative jersey as yet, but with head coach Jim Harbaugh entertaining the idea by saying, "We'll definitely keep an open mind." How about keeping an open mind to winning? Looks like they've taken a giant step forward. We'll just have to see. Thanks to Will Ahmed, thanks to Scott Blackman, thanks to Jonathan Becker for giving us some amazing perspective during the Olympics and beyond. Next weekend, halfway point of the Olympics, beginning of the NFL preseason, and a whole bunch of other good stuff. Join us once again when we go Beyond the Scoreboard.